The number one most downloaded Claude skill on the planet has been installed 829,000 times. That same skill was just sitting at 250,000 installs a couple months ago. So now while you've been using Claude like a fancy chatbot, an entire army of vibe coders quietly turned it into an automated work system. The problem is, there are now over 85,000 community-built Claude skills floating around the internet, but 99% of them are actually hot garbage. So I spent days digging through the entire official Anthropic directory to find the latest install data, and after reviewing over 10 million data points, what I found actually shocked me. 12 skills were consistently showing up more than the rest. This left me with two options. We can either adopt these or watch everyone around us work twice as fast for the rest of the year. I know what I'm choosing. So let me break down all 12 skills for you, starting from number 12 and working our way up to the most installed skill on Earth. Then I'll end on the one rule that stops you from nuking your own setup when using too many of these. And no, you do not need to know how to code for any of this. We're doing everything in natural language. By the end, you'll know exactly which skills to install so you don't get left behind. Oh, and if we haven't met yet, I'm Doobie, former marketer turned vibe coder. I made over $40,000 in less than 50 days using these exact AI tools. So trust me, the skills I'm about to share, I've been using for weeks now. Starting with number 12, security guidance, 175,000 installs. Did you know that according to a recent security audit, roughly 11,000 out of the 85,000 skills available are believed to contain security issues? That means you have a 1 in 8 chance of downloading a potentially malicious skill. That's why it's more important than ever to keep your security tight. That's exactly what the security guidance skill was built for. It only launched a few weeks ago and has since skyrocketed straight into the top 12 most installed skills ever. Here's what it does. It checks every file edit, every commit, every move Claude makes for security holes before they even happen. It actually maps the problems to real industry frameworks like OWASP, the same framework used by billion-dollar software companies. Using these frameworks, it flags risky operations before they ever run. The more autonomous Claude gets, the easier it is for it to quietly introduce a vulnerability you'd never catch. Because of this, enterprises are now treating this skill as mandatory, not optional. And pro tip, there's this company called SemGrep that specializes in cybersecurity, who have a range of free skills around security. If you pair the security guidance skill with the SemGrep set of skills, you can run much deeper reviews that would easily put your code security in the top 1% of vibe coders. If you thought that was cool, wait till you see number 11, the TypeScript LSP, 177,000 installs. LSP sounds scary. Trust me, it's not. It just gives Claude a real-time map of your entire code base. Every type, every reference, every import. Think of it as handing Claude a GPS for your project instead of making it read every file blind. And this is the big deal because it dramatically cuts down on Claude's AI hallucinations. And honestly, experts say you should install the LSP skill for your main language before anything else. TypeScript tops the list, but there's actually a whole family of coding languages. You've got Python's Playwright, which sits at 91,000 installs, then go Rust, Java, all the way down. Whatever you build in, there's one for you. Just ask Claude what's best for your task. 10. Feature Dev, 217,000 installs. This is a full agentic workflow for building a new feature end to end. It runs a clean 5-step pipeline, explores the code base, designs the architecture, writes the code, generates the tests, then reviews everything. So instead of one Claude juggling everything, you've got a little team working in sequence. I actually pointed this at a feature for one of my apps the other day and I walked off to make a coffee. A few moments later, I came back to a finished tested feature sitting there waiting for me. For a solo vibe coder, that's like hiring an entire dev squad for the price of one prompt. Number 9, Claude.md Management, 223,000 installs. Now this one solves Claude's most annoying flaw. Every new session, Claude forgets your stack, your naming rules, your conventions, all of it. The Claude.md file is basically Claude's long-term memory for a project. This skill helps keep that memory file updated automatically as your project grows. So you stop re-explaining the same thing every single morning. Just set it up once and Claude remembers who you are. All right, between you and me, if you thought that was useful, let me tell you about number 8, Playwright. 248,000 installs. This gives Claude the power to autonomously control its own headless browser, meaning it can literally search the web or even better, test out the features of your app. It literally spins up a browser, clicks through your UI, checks everything works, and fixes the tests when they break. I'm not gonna lie, writing tests is the part of building I actually hate the most. So handing it off to Claude off the rip honestly felt a little wrong. And I'm not the only one that hates doing it. The creator of Claude, Boris Cherny himself, literally created a custom skill called /go so that he can quickly tell Claude to use Playwright to autonomously test his own code, allowing him to focus on the finer things in life. Number 7, the GitHub MCP, 261,000 installs. Quick term, MCP just means Model Context Protocol. In plain English, it's a bridge that connects Claude to a live outside service. This one plugs Claude directly into GitHub, allowing you to use its features without you ever leaving your workspace. This is actually the most installed connector of all of them, way ahead of Vercel, Figma, and Slack. It turns Claude from a local helper into an actual member of your team that can actually make changes on your project repo. Fancy that. Number 6. Skill Creator, 283,000 installs. Believe it or not, this one's actually my favorite because it's the skill that builds skills.
What did he say?
You can imagine how powerful this thing is. You describe a task in plain English and Skill Creator drafts, tests, and packages it into a brand new reusable skill. And it's officially backed by Anthropic. People were saying it's the first skill that you should actually ever install. Why? Because you're no longer stuck with whatever's pre-built. Here's what I recommend. After a good session, just tell Claude, based on this conversation, build me a skill so we can do this faster next time. Boom! Free custom skill. And if you're already finding this video useful, do me a favor and smash that like button. It genuinely helps me out. I'll have all the links to every skill in the description below. Number 5, Code Simplifier, 284,000 installs. Here's an uncomfortable truth. AI generated code, including Claude's own, is often bloated and over-engineered. This skill runs a compression pass on it. It strips out the redundancy, simplifies the logic, and cuts technical debt, all without changing what the code actually does. Think of it as Claude cleaning up after itself. For vibe coders shipping fast, this is how you stop your app from turning into spaghetti. 4. Code Review, 347,000 installs. This automates the entire code review process. Claude analyzes your changes, checks them against your standards and the original task, then spits out a structured review report. It catches issues before a human ever has to look. It writes your pull request descriptions. It flags architecture problems early. A lot of people stack it with the PR review toolkit, which adds a confidence score to every single finding. Genuinely one of the biggest time savers on this entire list. Number 3, Context 7, 348,000 installs. Remember how I said Claude forgets? Context 7 is the heavier duty fix. It actually gives Claude live documentation lookup and smart search across huge code bases. So instead of only knowing what fits in its own context window, it can pull the exact docs and patterns it needs on demand. In big projects, this is the difference between Claude following your conventions and Claude inventing complete nonsense. This is actually one of 3 skills experts say you should install globally on every project. Hold that thought because the other 2 are coming up right now. The second most downloaded skill, Superpowers, 752,000 installs. And this is not a single skill, it's actually an entire framework. It forces Claude to follow a disciplined development methodology, like a senior engineering team. Here's the problem it fixes. AI agents are eager. They jump straight into writing code before they even understand what you actually want. Superpowers actually stops this from happening. It makes Claude brainstorm first, break the work into tiny atomic tasks, and follow strict test-driven development. If Claude writes code before writing a failing test, the framework forces a restart. It was built by a developer named Jesse Vincent, and the repo is one of the most starred AI coding frameworks in the world. Even experts like Simon Willison point to it as the fix for AI's hallucinated enthusiasm problem. Hey, I'm curious, are you already paying for Claude or Codex? I recently dropped Ace, an app that helps you get more out of your AI subscriptions by making them work together as a team. Like, check this out. One AI can research, another can build, and another can check the work. You can make simple teams like this, where Claude and Codex work together to find the best answer, or you can build something much bigger, like this autonomous app factory that keeps building apps while I sleep. Inside Ace, you can give tasks to your team in one group chat, create loops that run tasks again and again, or let one powerful AI manage a group of cheaper ones so you can spend less on tokens. You no longer need to code all of that from scratch. Just drag, drop, and connect the dots. Now live on Mac and Windows, use code DOOBY for 10% off, I'll leave a link in the description. Back to the video. Alright, now before I reveal number 1, I need to give a few honorable mentions, because not every useful skill made it in the official top 12, but some of these are genuinely insane. First up, Caveman, and yes, it does exactly what it sounds like. It makes Claude talk like a caveman. But weirdly, this is actually useful because Claude loves to yap. It explains every tiny step like it's writing a thesis. Caveman strips all that away. Less filler, less waffle, same output. So instead of Claude saying, I'll now inspect the relevant files, it just says, me check files, like a caveman. The creator claims it can cut output tokens by around 75%, which means faster sessions, cheaper usage, and way less mental clutter. It sounds like a meme, but it solves a real problem. Next, GStack. This one was made by Garry Tan, the CEO of Y Combinator, and it's basically his full Claude code setup in one repo. CEO review, engineering review, design review, quality assurance, security, release management, docs, everything. Instead of letting Claude randomly build and pray, GStack turns it into a proper startup workflow. Think, plan, build, review, test, ship, reflect, and that matters because once you start building real apps with AI, the hard part is not getting code written, the hard part is actually judgment. Should we build this app? Is the scope too big? Does the design suck? Did we actually test it? GStack helps Claude think through those layers before it cooks your project. Next up, Karpathy skills. Andre Karpathy, the co-founder of ChatGPT and head of AI at Tesla, once wrote a thread complaining about how Claude writes code. He mentioned 3 failure modes. Cheng read the thread and packaged the complaints into 4 behavioral rules inside a single Claude.md file and dropped it on GitHub. Currently sitting at 160,000 stars, it became the fastest growing single file repo of 2026. The file teaches Claude 4 simple rules. Think before coding, keep it simple, make surgical changes, and define success before touching anything. Which sounds obvious, but this actually fixes one of Claude's biggest problems. It's way too confident. It assumes things, it over-engineers, it changes files you never asked it to touch. Karpathy skills slows it down and it forces work with more discipline. So those are the honorable mentions. Caveman saves tokens, GStack gives Claude a startup operating system, and Karpathy skills stops Claude from acting like an overconfident intern. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about number 1. The most installed Claude skill on the entire planet with 829,000 installs, it's time to talk about front-end design. So why is this king? 2 words, AI slop. You know the look, purple gradients, the same boring font everywhere, generic card layouts, that glassy effect slapped on everything. The glassy effect does look kinda cool. Every AI generated app looks identical and developers are sick of it. Front-end design forces Claude to commit to a bold, distinctive visual style before it writes a single line of UI. Brutalist, minimalist, retro, futuristic, whatever you want. And then it enforces it the whole way through. I use this across all of my apps and the results speak for themselves. Like watch how Tariq, the lead developer at Anthropic, one-shot a retro music player. Genuinely impressive. This is the 3rd member of that infrastructure trio I teased. Front-end design, Context 7, and Superpowers. Install those 3 globally and Claude gets better on literally every project you touch. Now before you go around crazily installing everything, I have to educate you. These skills are not prompts. The best builders treat them as standard operating procedures for an employee that never sleeps. A prompt asks Claude to think. A skill actually teaches Claude how to work. That's the difference. And it actually gets bigger. These skills run on an open standard called agentskill.io, which means they're not actually locked to Claude at all. The same skill works in Cursor, in Copilot, across basically every AI agent on the market. You're not learning a Claude trick, you're building a portable workforce that follows you everywhere. But there is a dark side, and you do need to hear it. Anthropic flat out warns that plugins are highly trusted components that run code with your permissions. Security researchers have already documented malicious skills trying to silently hijack tool routing in the background. So the rule of thumb is simple. Only install from the official marketplace and treat every skill like a dependency you'd actually vet. And that brings me to the one rule that I promised at the start. Do not install all 12. I know, you want the whole arsenal, but every skill you add eats context window and piles on more slash commands. The sweet spot experts agree on is 3 to 5 skills matched to your actual workflow. Start with LSP for your language, add the infrastructure trio that I talked about, then pick 1 or 2 more for whatever you actually do. Check out this video, YouTube thinks you'll love it. I'll see you over there. Peace.